Hello, I'm Brett Knowles from PM Squared Consulting. This video walks you through my portion of the Anaplan Unstoppable Planning Tour 2015, in which I'll be talking about Agile Planning. This video walks you through the fundamental concepts of Agile Planning. Now, Agile Planning is born out of the concepts we developed in Agile software development. What we know is in developing a plan, individuals in the organization have deep understanding of narrow portions of the plan. And currently we try to capture those through spreadsheets. But in the Agile world, what if we could all contribute the chunk of knowledge we know? Think of it as crowdsourcing the plan. So we then end up with these sort of self-organizing cross-functional teams that can collaborate on the development of the plan. It promotes fast iterations of the plan, which allows us to do evolutionary development and early delivery of planning and plan concepts in a continuous improvement environment. So it encourages this rapid, flexible response to changes that we see in the planning environment. Stated a different way, the overall goal is to increase the plan's ability to react to the real world by doing four things. First, reducing the amount of time it takes you to plan, typically compressing it from 16 weeks to less than 1. Secondly, improving the predictive capability of the plan. The plan needs to cut through the fog of the future like a radar does and allow us to identify the significant issues that we need to predict and react to. We now need to also increase the execution ratio of the plan. Our research at Harvard indicated that over 80% of plans fail, not because they're not clever, but because they're not linked to strategy. Let's create that linkage and improve your execution ratio. And then finally, improve the abilities to organization's ability to react faster to any changes which occur in the plan. Let's talk about our history and where Agile planning comes in. Historically, traditionally, through planning processes, we come up with our overall strategic direction, which then gets top-level financial plans, budgets, and forecasts cut to. And then chaos ensues. We send this down to each of the different departments or silos in the organization, and it's their job to react to those strategic imperatives and budget constraints. And based on their reaction, they fire it back up to the top, and we try to consolidate and understand whether they align or not, and whether they work together to make those goals. And this process repeats itself back and forth, back and forth. On average, there are 6 iterations that take, on average, 16 weeks to complete. That's our traditional planning process. In the Agile world, we're changing that around through what we can now do with technology. What we do is we set up that strategic plan and those financial plans is sort of the center of the wheel. And we set up around it spokes that allow each of those planning components to exist and immediately feed back to the strategy, forecast, and plans. So those components become, hubs around the outside center. And we capture whatever the elements are that are key to your business. And of course, that varies from organization to organization. Now, whenever any one of those elements change, the rest of the plan immediately knows about it and can be adjusted accordingly. So we compress that back and forth and the idle time by joining these things into one overall solution. And of course, we can do that through enabling technology and through that cloud footprint. So what does that mean in the planning process? Well, there are 5 key differences that we've noticed. The first thing is the ability to change the plan over time. So in the traditional world, once we've cut the strategy and those top-level numbers, it sort of gets fired into those silos and we lose track of it. And we can't change it without having to restart the process. But in the Agile planning process, we can change at any point in time. So again, it's Agile. It allows us to adjust the plan at any point in time during the planning cycle, or of course, throughout the year. This allows a footprint that enables things like Agile scenario planning and so forth. So the ability to change is benefit number 1. Second is the visibility of the plan. So again, over time, in the traditional way, once we've fired that off to the different silos, we lose track of it. It's working in the different silos and doesn't re-emerge until towards the end of that 16-week cycle. Now, if we were to allow the Agile planning process to also extend 16 weeks, it would look like this. At every single touch point, we can revisit the plan and make adjustments accordingly. So it remains fairly visible throughout the entire process. So what does this mean to things like business value? Well, what we find is in the traditional planning process, no value is accrued from the plan until we're able to reassemble those parts and create the overall plan. But because this is more of a top-down, simultaneous with bottom-up process, in the Agile process, we very quickly get benefits out of it, and those benefits are sustained across the planning cycle. The fourth component is about risk. Now, there's always risk associated with a plan. In the traditional planning process, it takes a long time before you mitigate the risk of incorrect plans, as not till we bring the parts together again. But in the Agile world, the risk in the plan quickly is reduced. We identify the big issues at the beginning, and we continually ripple and deal with those across the planning cycle. So what does that mean? Well, if we combine these two things and take a look at business risk versus value, what we see is value grows quickly and risk decreases quickly. Obviously, this is the ideal world in the planning environment, taking the risk out of the conversation. Now, this also amounts to tangible benefits to the organization. Based on our research, we've discovered the following. In this Agile planning world, you can expect a 61% lower cost to create the plan on average. We also know that it takes about 93% less errors in the plan. Those are the errors that exist within each spreadsheet and as we try to join the spreadsheets together. We also observe basically a 40% reduction in the labor hours required to create the plan. And then finally, about a 25% faster planning process. So that's what Agile planning is and the benefits it gives you. Now, it's easy for any organization to move into the Agile world either quickly or slowly. During the other videos that follow this, I'll be outlining the 5 best practices to get you there. And those best practices are: 1, we need to eliminate the spreadsheets that are the epicenter of our planning cycles. 2, we need to simplify the planning model itself. Learn how to drive 80% of those drivers out of your plan and leave the 20% behind that are the effective planning elements. We need to eliminate the idle time between the silos. We need to make sure that your organization focuses on the issues that matter to your business. And finally, we need the ability to monitor its ability to execute on the strategy and the execution of that strategy. And of course, react to it. I hope this has been informative to you. We look forward to seeing you either on one of our tour stops or give us feedback based on these and other YouTubes you have the chance to listen to. Thank you for your time.